ABC Sports presents live in its 27th season, the Professional Bowlers Tour. There is a select group in the history books of the Professional Bowlers Tour that managed perfection on the TV finals. Its members are Jack Biondelillo, Johnny Gunther, then Jim Stefanich in 1974. And last year in Torrance, California, Pete McCordick joined the club with the first $100,000 bonus prize. Last week, another man joined this exclusive club.
If this doesn't get your heart pumping, I doubt if there's much that will.
One to go for 100,000 smackers.
This is where years of practice come into play. There's really not much you can think about. It's all natural ability. Keep your eyes on your target and hope the dear Lord wants you to have it.
There it is.
Oh, yes!
Bob Benoit adds his name to the 300 club. And that's what a perfect game looks like on the score sheet on the 5 who have achieved it. Who will be next? Maybe one of today's 5 finalists for the Don Carter Greater New Orleans Classic. Qualifying in 5th place, shooting for his 11th PBA title, Pete Weber. In our first match, he will face hometown favorite Scott Monteleone. Qualifying 3rd from Edmond, Oklahoma, Tony Westlake. In 2nd place, another local favorite from Lafayette, Louisiana, Purvis Granger. And our tournament leader in his first championship final, Roger Bowker. That's our field for the Don Carter Greater New Orleans Classic.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've crossed the mighty Mississippi from that exciting cradle of jazz, New Orleans. We're in Harvey, Louisiana, at another beautiful Don Carter bowling establishment. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have not done a bowling telecast in the New Orleans area for 10 years, and I got to tell you, I missed the food, and I missed the jazz, and I missed seeing Don Carter. But we've corrected that this year, and we hope to go back every year from now on. We'll tell you a little bit more about the field in just a moment, but I want to tell you something that's going to happen immediately following the Professional Bowlers Tour telecast. On ABC's Wide World of Sports today, the World Gymnastics Championships from Holland. And that, of course, will be followed by the Athlete of the Week, naming that particular person. And we're proud to say that last week we had co-athletes of the week, and Mr. Bob Benoit joined a great skier from Italy named Alberto Toma. Also in today's Wide World of Sports, a live preview of the 22nd Super Bowl, which will be happening, well, a little more than 24 hours from now, live and exclusive right here on ABC. We have a couple of heavyweights in this crowd that can really make a lot of noise, and I'm speaking of Don Carter and another pal, jazz great Pete Fountain. Well, here's another great, my colleague, who's going to tell us about the 4 unknowns and the man that has 10 titles, Nelson Burton Jr. Bo?
Thank you, Chris. It was an exciting week last week, and I think that we can have some of the same type of action this week. As Chris said, we're in the town of the Whodats, and we have 4 Whodats in the finals. We have Pete Weber in the first match going against the local favorite, Scott Monteleone, and he's exciting. Watch this fellow play. He can throw it in the channel, he can throw it in the pocket, who knows, but the crowd's behind him. The winner of that match goes against the man I think is going to be the toughest to beat, and that's Tony Westlake. He looked good all week long. He was steady. He's in 3rd position. The winner goes against another Louisianan, Purvis Granger. Purvis has some experience, but he's never been in a winner's circle. And finally, the tournament leader, a player that we know, Roger Bowker, but he's kind of a part-timer coming back, much like we saw Bob Benoit, who rolled the 300 last week. Our tournament leader, Roger Bowker, a part-timer, is going to be very tough to beat. So, Chris, any type of action today, maybe a perfect game again, but I doubt it. Good pin action. Let's go.
Okay, and here we go. Here are the 2 men in that first match. Finishing 5th, 25-year-old Pete Weber, the defending Firestone Tournament champion winner. And I might point out here early that Pete won that great title, one of the 3 Triple Crown events, coming from the number 5 position, which he is in today. He's going against Scott Monteleone, as we told you earlier, a native of New Orleans. Little noise broke the concentration of Pete. And using
the same good judgment that his dad used for years. Dick Weber, when he won here in 1969, he backed off, reloaded. He got robbed with the 10-pin on the left lane, Bo.
Chris, as you said, robbed. The ball was an apparent good hit as Peter quickly grabs another ball to convert the spare, a low surface friction ball that doesn't hook as much. That's the key shot. Can you carry the solid 10-pin? I think that'll determine the winner today.
And the winner today, after watching that spare by Pete Weber, will get $38,000. The runner-up, $20,000.
So it's a big afternoon for these 5, and here, one of the 4 that is yet to win a PBA title. Scott Monteleone, if he does something that pleases the crowd, you'll hear them chanting "Scoot."
And Scooter has done just that. A powerhouse strike for a big guy on a 5'8" frame, 240.
The man who learned to bowl an inside line somewhere around the 4th hour, because he said many bowling centers in this area he had trouble with a big hook ball. As you can see, his style, a very stocky, powerful fellow, big right arm, rolls that ball back on his wrist, much like we see Jimmy Keith and Benoit, almost cups it. Boom! He tears all 10 pins apart.
And Scoot got everything but the 7-pin. Scott Monteleone, 22 years old, and he has all the enthusiasm of youth. So he'll probably go cross lane now for the 7-pin.
Story already being written. We saw Weber in the pocket on the left-hand lane, solid 10. Monteleone, apparently a good hit. The 5-pin just goes right behind the 7. No strike, no double for anyone yet.
Okay, continuing to mark. 4 non-winners in our field.
The last time that happened was in Austin, Texas last year. Somewhat unique. There's Pete Fountain behind Scott. And now Pete Weber, who marked with a spare in the first frame, shooting in the second.
Profile that we are becoming so familiar with, the 5-step delivery of Pete Weber, eyes riveted on a target, that arm swing that almost goes up perpendicular to the approach area, the big follow-through, great shot there. He's playing about the same line as Scott Monteleone, starting the ball about the 10th board at the foul line, swinging it out precariously close to the gutter, and then hooking it back to the puck.
Left lane.
Pair, crossing it twice, this championship pair,
Pete averaged 211. There you see the purse breakdown: 38, 22nd, 12 for third, 9,000 fourth, and the loser of this first match will go home with $7,000. Now it's a 4-pin for the man who's in only his 3rd PBA event, so the pressure is on.
As we see the pin fall, you have to watch the 2-pin, the 3rd pin on the left-hand part of your screen. It's the key pin. The head pin drives in the 2. The 2 hits against the 7, doesn't take out the 4. Once again, another ball around the pocket, but no strike.
okay.
Our 16th Professional Bowlers Association telecast from the New Orleans area, and we are across the Mississippi from the Vauquerie, or the French Quarter, New Orleans, in Harvey, Louisiana.
The championship pair, lanes 51 and 52 here at Don Carter Lanes, 64-lane bowling center. And the championship pair, the left-hand lane, just hooks one more board than the right. A pretty evenly matched pair can develop some good scores.
And again, with a 7-pin wobbly 7 on the left lane.
Unbelievable. There is a shot that normally you would carry, and what happens is the ball comes driving into the pocket. The 2 drives against the 4. The 4 goes over the top of the 7. And look at Scott Monteleone. This is a story that's been told all week, and it's unfolding here in the championship round. Ball's in the pocket, apparently a chance for a lot of strikes, and not to be.
And all this in front of his hometown fans and at an establishment that he's familiar with.
Scott Monteleone against Pete Weber. We'll be back. Ah, yes, one of the great champions, Bo, Don Carter. he has a wonderful sense of humor. He promised me he'd do that, Nelson.
Well, he had the good fortune of being not only a great bowler, but bowling in a seniors championship that the Pro Bowlers Tour held here the opening year of this establishment about 8 years ago. Don Carter averaged almost 200 in that tournament, still a great player.
A high hit leaving the 3-6-10, and Don likes to think that his 11 handicap on the golf course is more important now to him.
Weber changing to a low surface friction ball to cut down his hook, hopefully control it, and then convert the 3-6-10.
Does it?
Okay, earlier we asked Pete, we wanted his thoughts going against 4 unknowns.
Well, I think I definitely got the experience with the 4 inexperienced players. But still, you know, you got to go out and take them one at a time and still bowl your best and be tough and win.
Good judgment. Common sense.
38 times he's been in the championship round.
Leaving a 10-pin and Bo, a graphic example of not taking them lightly was last week. The perfect 300 game by Bob Benoit. First time on TV, first everything.
That's exactly right. Mark Roth, not that he took him lightly, but always felt that Benoit would falter. Roth still had 255. Can't beat 300, though.
25-year-old Pete Weber, leading by 8 pins over 22-year-old non-winner Scott Monteleone. 5'8", 240 pounds. Spare up in the 4th, 5th frame. There they go. All right. Look at that progression, Nelson, from the beginning to now.
He crossed right next to me, Chris, in the 18-game qualifying. You see the first, second, and third box, and he was always in the hunt, just snuck in by about 20 pins, then made a big move in the 8-game matches that Thursday evening, advanced with the 16 games Friday, and now he's in 4th place going against the very tough Pete Weber. He needs this to take the lead.
Pressure shot, doubling here in our very first match with the winner to meet, Tony Westlake.
What a performance.
Look at how close he comes to the channel. He sends that 16-pound spheroid out there with a big turn. Turns left with about 10 feet from the pins and just saws those 3-pound, 6-ounce Brunswicks apart. He has the lead. The pressure's on Weber.
Boy, Pete started that nearly into the channel, but it hung on the lane, of course.
I expect to see one dip off in the channel, Chris, as a lot of the players like to say that slips into the moat. And when you have to play a line, that outside line like that, it's test your nerves. Obviously, there's good reward of tremendous pin action with a good angle of attack on the 1-3 pocket. But the penalty is if you send it too wide, it's a 0. Weber to regain the lead, trails by 2.
First match we have, 10-time champion Weber, non-winner Monteleone. 8 pins separating the 2 pros.
And there's the reaction of Pete Weber as he knocks out the 10-pin in the 7th frame. He left a solid 10 in the 5th. He regained the lead over Scott Monteleone with that shot. But Monteleone up in the 7th has 2 strikes working, can once again retake the lead.
Great break for Scott Monteleone of New Orleans. Very polite young man. When they were practicing earlier, there's a table that has ice water, and he came up to me and he said, "Is it all right if I have some?" Of course, it's for them.
And watch a key break. The 2-pin, the 3rd pin on the left part of your screen. It goes to the sideboard, twist between the 4 and 7. A hit that you could not carry very often this week. Scott does it in just a perfect situation as he once again retakes the lead.
Trying crossing over and leaving the 6'10 on the left lane. Nonetheless, inspiration from the applauding fans here. Tony Westlake, who will meet the winner, is practicing off to the right. You just heard the pin fall. And then when you hear it, the rest of our telecast, it'll be the remaining pros warming up.
Monteleone with a spare would make the match all even.
First game, first step toward the $38,000 champion's prize. The Don Carter Greater New Orleans Open. Pete, 5'7", 130 pounds.
Match all even. Whoever 2 strikes working can take the lead by 10 pins with an additional strike here in the 8th.
All sizes in the sport of bowling. And Nelson, Pete is sort of the size of the ski jumpers that'll be in the Calgary Olympic Games. 5'7", 130. Some of the best weigh in at about that. And of course, exclusively here on ABC. And our first ski jumping event, Nelson, will be 2 weeks from tomorrow.
And you will be doing that event, the 70-meter jump and the 90-meter. The top American, Mike Holland. We wish him well. Now, here's Weber. 9th frame, has a 10-pin lead. He sticks at the foul line.
Gets it. What a way to set up that foundation frame. Now he's checking his slide. That could be unnerving, can't it?
Very much so, Chris. And here's an interesting point here. Scott Monteleone is perspiring profusely, and he may have left a little perspiration on the approach. It's Weber's job to check that approach. And he didn't. He got a break. If he had fouled, it would have been his own fault.
Not folding by the least. This young man from New Orleans with a strike in the 9th. But it's an uphill battle against Pete Weber.
Once again, if Monteleone was really thinking he's an amateur, not an amateur, his first round here, he would go up and check that approach right now, Chris. Even though Weber's stuck, Monteleone can't take it for granted that he won't stick. And at this point right now, he needs a strike to pressure Weber. He trails by 20, 10th frame.
Here it is. Big loft out on the lane. Like the bend in the Mississippi into the 1-3 pocket. Woof.
Well, he has a crowd behind him. The situation is this. Pete Weber is working at a 236 pace. Monteleone with 2 more strikes would have 236. The match is up for grabs.
Look at this 22-year-old. First time on national TV. He has strung 3 now.
You heard the first hoot-at from the crowd. That's the battle cry or the rallying cry of the New Orleans Saints. Right now, they're rooting for their hometown boy, Scott Monteleone. With a strike here, he can force Weber to strike in the 10th.
Reverse now. Great job with 8 strikes and a 236 by this 22-year-old. I guess you'd have to say he must be made of the right stuff.
For Pete Weber, he must strike on this ball. If he doesn't strike, Scott Monteleone's the winner and will go against Westlake. If he does strike, he still has to keep it on the lane. Here's the shot.
One way he has won 10 championships, including the Firestone. Intense competitor. I doubt if there's any greater intensity.
Agreed, Chris, as he just crushes all 10 pins, drives them straight in the pit. One thing he has to worry about now, look at that precarious line he's playing, the outside line. Pete Weber should not give it that much room this time. Just go down the center of the lane, make sure he gets up. There you go.
It still gets them all, as he found a new line, Bo.
Yes, he did. There's a great shot out there. If you pull it a little bit, it goes in the pocket. If you swing it, that's all the ingredients for great scoring.
Okay, we'll give you Pete's final score will be in the 250s against Monteleone's 236.
9 strikes for Weber, a 256 victory. We'll be back for the second match after this.
We're in Harvey, Louisiana, across the river from New Orleans. And our first match, we hope you saw it, a total of 17 strikes, 9 by Weber, who wins it 256 to 236. And now goes against 28-year-old Tony Westlake. Thus far this year, Tony's been 14th twice, and it's his 3rd television appearance, but he's looking for his first win, shooting first on the left lane.
A nice greeting for Weber.
I think, Chris, that Westlake is the man that Weber really has to bear down on. He obviously had a great match against Scott Monteleone. Monteleone made his mark here in town with just a fabulous 236 start, but not enough to defeat Weber. Now let's see if the pressure of the first match, the heat, it's nice and warm here in New Orleans, even in the bowling center, takes a toll on Weber. First shot.
Come on, Pete! Come on!
Yes, another strike for Pete Weber. And what a day tomorrow on ABC. Believe me, starting with college basketball, Kentucky, Notre Dame, and Bo, then the 22nd Super Bowl.
Well, they're playing in Kentucky. You got to go with Kentucky. The Super Bowl, Chris, I've heard it and watched it back and forth on ABC with my good buddy Deerdorf and, of course, Al Michaels and Frank Gifford giving the action. But I say watch out for Washington, even though they're an underdog.
All right. Okay. And another St. Louis product has just doubled here in our second game to take a 10-pin lead over 5'6", 165 pounds, Tony Westlake. But Tony takes care of that. Just a little over a year ago, Tony was in the finals at the Showboat, losing his first match to Weber.
Tony Westlake, just a nice, simple style. Keeps everything in play, a little bit more of the conventional style that we somewhat recommend for all players that'll last a lifetime. Keeps the ball in play. And he's using good psychology in this match. He watched Weber take his time in the first match. Now Westlake's making Weber bowl very quickly, so see how it works.
All right, 3 in a row for Westlake.
Making his entrance from the wings here at the Don Carter Lanes in Harvey.
Certain psychology to match play. Tony Westlake, although he's never been in the winner's circle, has a lot of experience before he ever came out on a Pro Bowlers Tour, has changed the pace for Weber. Let's see if Weber can hang in there with him.
3 frames each bowler, total of 6 strikes.
And a man that always plays perfect games is up here in our booth with us, the incredible Pierre Dewey LaFontaine, better known as Pete Found. Pete, we're glad to have you here. I know you love bowling.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I'm having a great time here. I have my granddaughter with me today. That she bowls.
She's got to like Pete Weber, whom we're watching now. 3 in a row, 4th frame. He can't believe that the 9 is standing.
One of the big changes in the sport of bowling is the power of the bowling balls. Watch this bowling ball
as it drives through the 1-3. It's supposed to deflect off the 5-pin and into the 9. It doesn't even respect the pins, cuts right off the 5 off the 9 for a solid 9-pin.
Okay. Another close match, 1 pin separating Westlake and Weber. More later.
Professional bowling, we returned to New Orleans after an absence of 10 years, and we're glad.
And talking about 10, Chris, Pete Weber had 10 strikes in a row before this happened. Watch the 9-pin. The ball was supposed to hit the 1, 3, 5, and deflect in the 9. Not Weber's ball. It cuts right on through the 1-3 zone, does not respect the weight of the 5-pin, which is 3 pounds, 6 ounces. Look at that power. One of the major changes in the game today. Urethane bowling balls on a urethane bowling surface. That's what we have here against plastic pins. The players can take and just overpower the pins, but sometimes they pay a penalty. Now, Westlake, 3 strikes in a row, leads by 1, 4th frame.
Well, there's 4.
in this highly competitive individual sport. And Pete, you're acclaimed all over the world as the king of clarinet jazz, but you have a great team effort going with the other 7 men in your group.
They have a real good band. You know, we work every night together, so you get to work together real good.
But individually, you practice like these bowlers do, don't you?
Well, I try.
Results are the same. Hey, now, he has 5 in a row.
It's a kick to see Weber because I know his father so well, you know. Now,
Father won here. You were at the,
I know I'm getting old.
in '69, you were at the telecast when his dad won with a
Right.
247. Spare up, shooting in the 5th. No incredible scoring. They had a 256 by Weber in the first game in his victory over Monteleone, who shot a 236.
All the conditions are right for the pros. The lane surface is just smooth as can be. They don't have to throw too hard. They don't have to fight the pin action. The ball's coming in from that outside trajectory because the outside part of the lane is a little bit drier, a little higher surface friction than the center of the lane. The approaches are good. They're not having to worry about anything. It's just a battle of nerves. Who can make the most good shots? Now here's Weber trailing by 21. Strike working.
Left with a 10. Won just like it early in his first match, which he won, of course. But he looks a little dejected. And in the past, sometimes his dauber has gotten down when something happened that he didn't like. Shouldn't let it happen.
Quickly up on the approach with a low surface friction ball. He'll trail by 21.
There you see, he's really dejected. He'll overcome it.
Well, he just doesn't expect Tony Westlake to miss. When you get a lane condition like this in a Pro Bowlers Tour, they just don't hardly miss, Chris. And it's tough when you get 20 pins behind.
Now, Tony Westlake is halfway to a $100,000 bonus provided by True Value Hardware Stores. We did it last week, and it was fun. Wouldn't mind doing it again here in Harvey, Louisiana.
Well, Pete, what do you think of that? You know, True Value gave away $100,000 last week. They were giving away another $100,000, and they said
It was close.
well, if they weren't down here with a check, could we borrow it from you?
No, I'll get it from Chris.
All right. All right, here's Westlake. To convert the spare in the 7th frame, he will have a 30-pin lead.
Okay. We're in our second match here in the Don Carter Greater New Orleans Open. More cheering her husband on here and as nervous as they can be. Wives are in a tough spot when their husbands are out there in this lonely sport.
It's lonely out there.
Pete Weber trails by 30 pins, spare working in the 6th, up in the 7th.
Now the winner of this game will go against Purvis Granger, another non-winner, but he's been on television before, and then against the tournament leader, Roger Bowker.
Key frame for Weber right here, 8th frame, trails by 30, but that's not an insurmountable lead with this high-scoring lane condition. Weber has been solid in the pocket all 7 shots. He needs to maintain that rhythm and throw a strike right here, put some pressure on Westlake.
Pete, that's as pretty as your clarinet music.
Anybody named Pete can be.
Can be all bad.
All bad.
This reaction, wonderful.
Westlake, though, he's right back. Chris, he's never been to the winner's circle, and by no means is this a championship game, but I feel, in my mind, the winner of this match is going to be very tough. Obviously, both players throwing the ball in the pocket. And for Tony Westlake,
this is the biggest shot of his career right now. He leads by just 20 pins going against a proven quality of Pete Weber. He needs to keep that pressure on him with a strike here in the ninth.
But he has left the 2 and sleeper 8 on the left lane.
A little anxious, goes with a little extra speed. He sails the ball by the head pin, leaving the 2 and 8 pins. He had a little more speed on the other shots. The ball would finish some more. Leaves the 2-8, and Chris, as you said, difficult with the sleeper, especially when we know the center of the lane has a much lower surface friction than the outside. Could be a tough spare.
Well, professional 3 years, a regional winner like the man before him, Scott Monteleone, who lost to Pete Weber 256-236. While Pete Weber's getting up, Pete Fountain, we have to pat you in the back for supporting the New Orleans Saints all these years.
We've done very well this year.
Pete Weber, big shot, has 2 strikes, working, trails by 20.
Well, he was robbed again.
Dejectedly, Pete Weber really needed that shot. The best he can shoot is 238. If he strikes out, makes the spare and strikes out, every ball has been solid in the pocket. He may not win. The power of Weber. The 6 pin is just accelerated around the 10. Now you'll see a little different look on his face. Boom. Has to regain his composure, can still win the match, but needs a strike here in the 10th.
Another 10, and Pete knows.
Well, that's been the story this week in the championship. A lot of balls in the pocket, some solid 10s. The breaks go back and forth. Weber still a possible 227, but he's in big trouble.
After a big 256 and his victory over Monteleone in the first game, Pete Weber, and there you get a look at Tony Westlake. And Tony is probably thinking some revenge. The finals of Showboat last year, he lost the first match to Weber. So it's a 227 with 7 strikes, though, for Weber.
11 good shots, 7 strikes, a solid 9, and 3 solid 10s. Westlake in the driver's seat. It's going to be Westlake against Purvis Granger in the semifinal coming up next.
So the so-called unknowns and non-winners are moving it tough for the more veteran professionals. Remember, Mike Jasnow won our very first tournament of the year for his first. And last week, Bob Benoit. All right. We have a new winner, winning the second game. Time for our Old Spice Tip of the Week, comparison of styles with Bo. Today's Old Spice Tip of the Week is brought to you by Old Spice Fast Track Wide Deodorant. It blocks odor better.
You can walk in any bowling center in the country and see various styles of players, whether it's the recreational player, the league player, or even the professional bowler. And a true barometer of which style works best is really what kind of results you get with that style. Now, last week we saw Bob Benoit take the hook arm or cupped wrist style to perfection. The hooked arm style, wrist style like that, increases carry, but there's some major drawbacks. In my style on the right, you'll see that I push the ball away just as Bob Benoit would. But at the top of my swing, my wrist is flat, and it stays in that position all the way through the shot. Now watch Benoit. He's got it cupped. Now there's certain drawbacks. First place, it takes about 3 years to learn. That's what he told me. That's what Jimmy Keith told me. Also, there's the injury problem, the wrist. And finally, you need a lane condition that is conducive to that big hook ball, or you cannot be a consistent player. You be the judge.
Now let Bo help you score even more. You'll also fix problems, improve strategy, and practice smarter with Bo Burton's new bowling video.
This video is for you.
ABC Sports and Old Spice bring you Bo Burton's new instructional video, Score More. Just $24.98 plus $3 shipping. Call 1-800-4-ABC-VCR. That's 1-800-4-ABC-VCR.
Field of 160 started here earlier in the week.
The average game for all the players, 202. Pretty good scores. Top 24, 210 average. 53 players went to the cash window, and here are some of the other 24 finishers in this week's championship field. Kent Wagner, Deadeyes up there. David Houston, Corey Groth had a good week. And some of the other players, the Fireball,
Phil Ringener, Palmer Fahlgren, once again, another solid week. Holman faded a little bit, but the bowler of the year, 12th place finish. Purpo, Gene McCune, his father was player of the year, once had 23 in a row this week. And Craig Rourke likes to say happy birthday to his wife, Mary. Adam Colton, their first TV championship round. Edwards drove me out of the top 24. Bellinger, Coughlin, first time in top 24. And Norm Duke round out the championship field.
But I must point out that Bo finished 25th. Well, Tony Westlake is a step closer to the 38,000. 259, 10 strikes. Weber's 227 with 7 shots into the pocket and carrying all 10. So now, another non-winner, Purvis Granger from Lafayette, Louisiana, Cajun country, goes in against Tony Westlake for our third. And it's time now to get an answer to a question in our department of Ask Bo.
Today's Ask Bo question involves the championship round, and it goes like this. Bo, how are the top 5 finalists determined for ABC's telecast for the Professional Bowlers Tour? And it's simply this. We start with a 160-man field. They bowl 18 games of qualifying on Wednesday and Thursday. The top 24 players compete in a round-robin match play of 24 games Thursday evening and all day Friday. A bonus of 30 pins is given to each player who wins a match. Of course, if there's a tie, they each get 15. And this determines the top 5 players, 42 games cumulative, plus the bonus pins for the championship round.
Okay, and we go into our third game of the afternoon live coverage. And if you have a question, don't forget, send it to Ask Bo. Finishing practice now, here is 23-year-old Purvis Granger, 5'11", 150 pounds, and this week he had 34 games of over 200 in getting to this spot. 6 television appearances, and on this championship pair, averaging 201, while Westlake averaged 222 2 games.
You know, it makes the tour so tough now, Chris, not only for the fellows who have a lot of experience, but for everybody out here, is just the quality of play of the young players. Look at these players we have today. No fear of the television lights, the championship round. Look at Westlake.
Really running that one out. Almost left the house, but the 10 stands.
Yeah, and that's really a credit, this ability we see to the junior programs, the coaching around the country, the PBA school, which every player has to pass. All prepare them for the Professional Bowlers Tour. Now here's Westlake's semifinal match. Leaves a 10-pin against Purvis Granger.
You just joined us, Tony Westlake, at whom you're looking, shot a 259 to Pete Weber's 227. 5'11", 150-pound Purvis Granger. Another 10. Let's see that style profile view.
Purvis, who likes the outside line, is very obvious in his style. Takes the ball right by his side, medium speed, 5-step delivery, takes it slightly inside the target line, then inside out. Not much wrist turn, just kind of lifts through it. Very accurate player, keeps it in play. Once again, he needs to convert the 10-pin to stay even.
Okay. There's the address if you have a question on bowling. Ask Bo, Post Office Box 217, Ansonia Station, New York, New York, 10023.
Purvis Granger, no faint heart about shooting high scores. He once tied a match against Norm Duke, 300 to 300 in a championship round in Las Vegas last year.
And the man that turned pro, he was 18, he's now 23. Very smooth style, big follow through, strike in the second frame. Westlake is up, spare working, second frame. Well done for Tony. Strike in the second. Coming up next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the World Gymnastics Championships. And then it's individual competition from Holland. And I want to point out, keep an eye on Dmitry Bilazerchev. He is the Soviet Union. Oh, he's a tremendous athlete, out with injuries, but back and going strong. Plus a Super Bowl preview with Frank Gifford live from San Diego.
Slides by the 2-pin. Tony Westlake, the first time he has not been in the pocket in this match. He left the 10-pin the first frame, the strike, and then that little extra speed. We saw him do this same type of shot in the 9th frame against Weber. He breaks the 8-pin out this time, leaves an easy spare.
Took very little time. Very little expression, as you can see, and there was very little when he defeated Weber 259 to 227. Now, Purvis Granger. Strike up, 3rd frame. Chance for the lead. Good finger hole popping shot, won it both.
That's for sure. When you hear those finger holes popping like that, it means he's got a strong grip on the ball, and he has a strong grip on all 10 of these pins. Boom, takes the lead with that double. Never Nervous Purvis. What a nickname.
Gave us a little Arnold Palmer hitching up with the slacks, too.
When you have high-scoring conditions like this, it's a little different match game psychology. You really have to work on just working on the lane because you can't afford to have too many spares. A player can go bowling right by you.
And he now will attempt covering the 4-pin on the left lane.
You see a whimsical look on Purvis's face. He expected that 5-pin to blow out that 4-pin, but what happens? That extreme outside line, 16-pound urethane bowling ball against a 3-pound, 6-ounce plastic pin, and he just drives the 5 right over the top of the 7.
Okay, still a very close match. Granger leading by 9. Back again in Louisiana. We have an opportunity to congratulate Marshall Holman on the left, Betty Morris on the right, receiving their Bowling Writers Award as Bowlers of the Year and $5,000 checks from Seagram's Coolers, presented by Mark Rossini, product manager of Seagram Beverage Company, sponsors of the award. Here's a man that would like to become one, and he could. He's talented. But another 4-pin for Tony Westlake.
Tony Westlake has one thing to worry about as you see the ball just drifting slightly high in the 1-3 zone, leaves the 4-pin, is to watch the change of the lanes. One reason this bowling center scored so well all week, the lanes didn't change very much. The oil or conditioner stayed almost in the same place, and the players could play the same line.
Should give you an update. Bob Benoit, who shot that perfect 300 game and earned $127,000 total last week, finished 79th here in the Don Carter Greater New Orleans Open.
51 and 52, the championship here. Look at the amount of strikes on 52, 25 as compared to 13 on 51. That could affect the starting lane for our championship leader, Roger Bowker, when he comes up. He'll study that.
Hitting another 4.
Two choices you have in this bowling center when you start drifting high. Either throw the ball a little bit harder or move about a board left on the approach. Tony Westlake is taking that through his mind right now. I'm sure he'll make the adjustment when he comes up in the 6th frame. 35 feet of oil here. Last week it was oiled to 48 feet. The PBA varies the lane condition every week. 35 this week. A little bit different shot.
$38,000 goes to our winner here this afternoon. This is our semifinal match. And up to now, the leading money winners, look at that, $127,100 on top. And today's group, Weber and Monteleone today picking up 7, whereas Weber picked up 9,000 to add to his total. And for Granger, a big strike in the 5th.
Purvis from Lafayette, Louisiana, about 2 hours drive from the New Orleans area. A non-winner on the Pro Tour, as we saw the top 5 players of this championship round's money so far. Also, one of these players will advance to the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Jimmy Pritz, who was 52nd on the list, will be bumped out.
Look at the careful preparation by Purvis. Adds to his lead over Tony Westlake now by 21 pins.
What a dandy shot by Purvis. Keeps that arm tucked into his body, drives all the pins into the pit. He has a 21 pin lead over Westlake, who's up in the 6th.
All right. 98 through the 5th, the strike in the 6th.
No 10 pin, please. Oh, yeah. What makes high-scoring conditions, as we've seen here today, you can never tell, but it's simply this. We have the talent always in a professional bowler's tour. The adjustments work. You see Westlake made an adjustment from the 4-pin, got a strike. If he makes another adjustment here and gets a strike, well, that's all the players need. Is something that works, they can throw it in the pocket.
Another 4-pin for Tony.
Shaking his head. He had 2 adjustments he could make. Move left on the approach or throw harder. He opted for the moving left on the approach. Didn't work. He'll come back, if he's still in the match, in the 9th frame and throw the ball a little bit harder. Right now he's had every ball but 1 in the pocket and trails by 21 pins.
Okay, we're in our semifinal match. The winner of this game will meet the tournament leader, Roger Bowker. More after this. Looking at the founding 4. Starting from left to right, Junior Powell, great professional bowler, golfer, etc. And then, of course, legendary Don Carter.
And the rest of the quartet, Bert Rose there smiling, and on his left is Jerry Eisen, all general partners in the Carter chain of bowling centers. And by the way, Chris, they all bowl in league in their Carter centers.
Purvis Granger leading by 21, double working, shooting in the 7th. Knee bend at the line bow. Didn't raise up, followed through like, oh boy.
Chris, you said it all. Just drove them all in the pocket. Do you have 2 players out here that just the very conventional style? They're steady players on the tour, and now in the semifinal match, they're getting their crack at the big time money. Purvis Granger leads by 31, 3 strikes in a row working. 8th frame can extend his lead to 41 over Tony Westlake. Semi-fingertip grip for Purvis Granger. Polyurethane bowling ball. Tucks that pinky finger. Guides it with the index finger.
Really stepping out. They have great spirit in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is also the home of the Hebert brothers, Jay and Lionel.
Westlake quickly up, trying to use a little psychology in this match. Maybe he can throw a couple of quick strikes and whoa,
break.
And maybe perturb Purvis Granger. You watch Tony Westlake, he's always thinking he's a tremendous match play player out here, and that's what he cut his teeth on, is that match play competition back there in Oklahoma at his dad's Town and Country Lanes. They're in Altus, Oklahoma. He needs a strike to stay in the match. Must strike right here.
Solid 8.
Oof. Well, another shot where the ball was just too much for the pins. On a solid 8, the ball goes through the 1-3 pocket. The 2-pin is actually accelerated in front of the 5. It chops straight off the 8.
And that's the man, Tony Westlake. Shot a 259 to Pete Weber's 227 in the previous game. Looking back and smiling at his sister, Debbie.
Never nervous. Purvis Granger in the driver's seat. Potential 269.
Boy, his follow-through is something. like he's posing for a picture for a bowling magazine. And he will go into that final against Roger Bowker, where they'll be bowling for $58,000. There is Pete and Bev Fountain's granddaughter, Danielle. That previous shot. All right. Leaving the 8-pin here. But it's Granger going against Bowker soon. Tip from that city on the Maumee, Toledo, Ohio. And here on the Mississippi, we join Bo.
Thank you, Chris, and it's always an exciting matches across the country. And with me is the man who just bowled 2 great matches. The first one against Pete Weber, and then the second one, you're around the pocket. The lanes have changed a little bit, Tony. What happened between the first and second games out there?
I think on the left lane, I made a couple of bad shots and threw the ball a little too hard. And then I made a move to the right with my feet, and I left a couple of 4-pins, and that was all it took to lose. Purvis bowled a great game.
Which lane hooks more? You said that before the championship round, the left lane would be the key lane. It's shown up in our statistics where the strikes are almost 2-to-1 on the right lane compared to the left. Is it still the same?
Yes. I think it hooks a little more back ends on the left lane.
If you were going to tell Roger Bowker something, he's never bowled for the championship before, going against a hot player like Purvis Granger, what would you tell him? How would you attack this championship match?
I would relax and just go for it like there's no tomorrow. There's nothing to lose now.
Scores are pretty high. Predict a final score and a winner for me.
Purvis, 238, 227.
All right, he's going with the Louisianan, the man who is the crowd favorite, Chris. The championship game, $38,000 at stake. They have 1 or 2 more practice balls, and they'll be ready to go. Tony, great match. Good luck next week in Venice, Florida, and we'll see who wins this championship match.
Thanks, Bo.
Tony Westlake, who was interviewed by Bo, takes home a check for $12,000 and gets a little closer to his first victory. But one of the 2 professionals you're looking at now will become a first-time winner. Roger Bowker, 5'8", 170 pounds, 34 years old, bowling out of Ocala, Florida, is Purvis Granger's opponent. Purvis, we had a lot of consistency this week, and of course in the last game, shooting a 248 to Westlake's 198. First shot, championship match. Opens beautifully. Now Roger Bowker, who won 2 regional titles last year, and who led the 5th and 6th rounds in this championship.
Here's the line Purvis Granger is using on the left-hand lane. Tony Westlake says it hooks a little bit more. Purvis gives it another board room, plays it properly, just beautiful. Now here's Roger Bowker, first stroke championship game.
And he's left the 2-pin on the right lane. This is one of those professionals that hangs in there, comes out occasionally, tries his very, very best.
Chris, I've known Roger for a long time. He's just a wonderful young man, just pleasant to be around. Always has been an excellent player, has made some major changes in his game, changed from the big hook ball to the down and in shot, and he just overtook this field in the last 8 games of Friday night.
He averaged 237 in this championship pair, 2 games, and he is marked with a spare. Let's get a better look at his style.
And he has switched back to the conventional style. You'll notice how his wrist is nice and flat behind the ball, flat at the top of the swing, good high follow-through. Just throws that ball a little too hard on the right-hand lane, but that's a pretty smart move. The first time in a championship round, has to be a little bit tentative. You don't want to go up there and get a split. Now, if he makes that same type of shot here on the left-hand lane, he should hit the pocket, because this lane will hook that extra board and make it go solid.
That showed you the powerhouse strikes that he can throw. Roger Bowker, the tournament leader. Going to see a lot of great leaders coming up next on Wide World of Sports, the World Gymnastics Championships. A live preview from San Diego. Frank Gifford on the 22nd Super Bowl exclusively here on ABC tomorrow, plus the naming of the Athlete of the Week.
Purvis Granger would like to get out to a quick start, Chris.
watch this action as the ball drives to the 1-3 zone. The pin goes to the sideboard and comes all the way back over and knocks out the 9 pin. Watch the power of Purvis Granger's ball. Now here, watch the action. Ball drives through. There goes the two pin to the sideboard. It slides back and knocks out the 9. Tremendous power. A great way to start. Purvis, semi-fingertip grip.
And the New Orleans fans are cheering for him naturally because he's from nearby Lafayette, Louisiana. And here, the Don Carter house, we came hours before our telecast, and there was the longest line I've ever seen of people waiting to get in. And of course, the establishments usually don't have that much seating room, Nelson.
Chris, more than 10,000 fans came through the turnstiles this week at Don Carter Lanes. That's a lot of people. Capacity crowd here today. Now Bowker trails by 20. Is a strike working?
Another powerful one. He just rips him. Marked with a spare in the first. And you know, he's trailing by only 10.
Roger has been around the bowling business a number of years. His father, Melvin, manages a bowling center in Rockford, Illinois. He has two brothers, Al and Ron, both 200 average players. Roger has always been a consistent player. This is his best finish regardless of what happens, and he's trying to make the most of it. This could really change his thinking about what he wants to do in a professional career. Right now, he's managing a bowling center in Ocala, Florida. To even the match, one more strike.
All right, 3 in a row for the man whose highest finish was 12th in Cleveland in 1977. We're in our championship matches. They're bowling for $58,000. We'll be back. All right, this is 23-year-old Purvis Granger. His father, Audrey, just over his left shoulder there on the right. His mom, Alice, is here as well, coming in from Lafayette to cheer him on. He has 3 in a row. He'll be shooting in the 4th frame. Get that so often, Nelson, if at all possible, in distances, the parents are here to cheer.
Well, it's, I think, more pressure on the parents even than the child. Anybody loves to see their children do well, but all they do is sit and watch as Purvis Granger has started with 3 strikes in a row championship match.
Come on, Purvis!
Left with a 10 on the right lane. In his 6th television appearance, Purvis Granger.
Purvis, just a likable young man, travels the Professional Bowlers Tour with colorful Guppy Troop, who has said that he will be in the championship round soon. He says, watch out.
We get those two with their shades on, and they look Hollywood coming down those sidewalk. There's a lot of glare on these nationally televised finals, so a little tint here and there doesn't hurt.
Very true, Chris, especially with the polyurethane lane finishes we see today. It's a good idea to sometimes vary your spot where you're looking on the lane. You can be in a particular bowling center and the lights will be reflecting on the arrows. Move your spot a little bit farther down the lane or a little bit closer, and that's what Purvis is doing right now. The match, he trails by 1, 5th frame.
Look at that.
The footwork of Purvis Granger. Now watch his foot as he slides the foul on that left foot. He drives under, and then twists and grabs his balance with his heel. Once again, it's very important that the approaches be in top condition. I think that's one of the main things we can say here about this Don Carter Center is the lanes were very smooth and the approaches were very easy to slide on.
3 in a row for Bowker. Make it 4. He's not going to let the semifinal game winner get away from him, but as he takes an 11. You talk about a big day in the history of sports television. It begins college basketball, Kentucky versus Notre Dame from Louisville, ball at 1:30. Then the Super Bowl pre-game show hosted by Keith Jackson, starting at 4, to be followed by the 22nd. You got a pick?
Well, I think Washington Redskins, I said it earlier, Chris, I think experience, determination, and just raw power. Plus the factor, what happens if Elway gets hurt? I've not heard anybody say that. I have to think that. Now, Roger Bowker trying to hurt all 10 pins. He has an 11-pin lead, 6 frame.
Does just that. Howard providing a 5-bagger and a 21-pin lead over Purvis Granger, who eliminated Tony Westlake 248 to 198. In the previous match, Tony Westlake beat P. Weber 259 to 227, and in our opener, Weber with the 256, Monteleone 236. Crossover leaving the 10.
Purvis Granger has, we've been hearing that pop that you brought my attention to, Chris, where his hands are just popping out of the ball. That's because it's so warm in here. As you see him just mush the left side of the head pin, the 1-2, pushing everything towards the 10 pin. Doesn't get a break, but he lost that ball trying to run up and catch up to it because he's dropping it.
And Louisiana's hopes ride on the shoulders of this 5'11" professional. Monteleone was the other, losing in the first match to Weber.
Both these players came through the PBA regional program. The Southern Regional Bowlers, the PBA is broken into 7 regions, and a player must cash 4 times in these regional tournaments to be eligible to bowl on the national tour. Both these players had no problem with that, and they're out here shooting for 38 grand.
High hit leaving the 3-6. And in the case of Bowker and this man, Granger, they want that very first PBA title.
Well, Purvis Granger just drifts slightly high on this shot. We don't have the radar gun, but it just looks like he doesn't keep up the speed here the last 2 frames. The first time anybody has been errant 2 shots in a row. He's gotten away with some relatively easy spares to convert, but even with this conversion, he would trail by 23 pins.
And it's getting late in our championship match. 38 to the winner, 20 to the loser. Next week in Venice for the Bowlers Journal Open.
Be there to see our good friend and host Rafi Carrion, one of the super guys of the game. Roger Bowker, who holds the ball with one hand, and the reason he did that, he said he had to play extremely wide hooking shot one day where he had to hold the ball to the right and push it behind his back to loop his swing. It got so comfortable that now the only way he likes to hold it is just with one hand, let it swing freely, and he has 5 strikes in a row.
4-pin on the right lane. Bowker, who led the 5th and 6th rounds.
The crowd responding to Rogers' 4-pin. As you see the ball drive through, there's a good shot. The action of the 2-pin taking out the 7, but leaving the 4. Good intense concentration. Bowker, his first opportunity at a championship.
Bowker coming into the finals as a tournament leader with, I'm sure, some confidence. As a result, as he had averaged 237 on this championship pair in 2 games.
Look at Roger Bowker. He started off in 66th place after 6 games, vaulted to 5th in the 3rd qualifying round. In the 24-game match play finals, he went 4th, 1st, and he right now has a 22-pin lead, trying to maintain that #1 position, win his first title, and take a ride to the Firestone Tournament of Champions in April.
Like last week, Bob Benoit had averaged around 240 on the pair and won it all with a 300. 4-pin. Seeing 4s and 10s today.
Highway Patrol, right, Chris? 10-4.
Right.
You know, good style here by Bowker, though. You know, when you're the tournament leader, the most important thing to do is not defeat yourself. Bowker is using very little hook, conventional style, keeping the speed up. He's not allowing the ball to drift high in to the 1, 2, 3 zone and get a split and open up the match. So right now, with that 21-pin lead, he's doing the right thing. Don't try to attack, just keep it in play.
And then missing. certainly not keeping it in play. Wow.
That one went out of play. Once again, high-scoring lanes have a reduced surface friction in the center. Roger did not take that into account. It almost looks like the ball jumps to the right. He's not going to like this at all. He says, my gosh, I probably haven't done that in a year. Now the match is up for grabs. 8th frame.
And then the man trailing it prior to that shot by only 10 leaves the 2, 8, 10. Tell us what to do with your telestrator, Bo.
Two schools of thought, Chris. You can either take the ball and drive it into this zone right here, try to bounce a pin out, or try to hit the 2-pin very lightly and slide it over in the 10 and have it ricochet. Took a chance.
Leaving 3 in the 8th frame. 161 through 8. 187 for Bowker through 8.
A point here, Chris, the 2-8-10, Mark Roth left that this week. By the way, he had to withdraw with wrist problems and converted it left-handed. Now, in American Bowling Congress League play, you have to maintain using the same hand, so he couldn't have switched to left-handed. If Purvis had been a good enough player left-handed, I'm sure he would have tried it that way, but now he's dug himself a deep hole, 26 pins in arrears with 2 frames left.
Good recovery. But you can never make up for an error in bowling. Can in most every other sport, but not in bowling.
Here's that trip 2-pin. Now watch the action of this 2-pin. It goes to the sideboard, spins between the 4 and 7s, knocks out the 4-pin. When a pro bowler can catch this shot, he's in heaven, because that's the danger zone for that sharp breaking hook that the pros roll. Right now, Roger Bowker going at a 227 pace. Purvis Granger a possible 221. The match is still in doubt.
After an open frame, leaving the 6 on the right pair, which brought a few oohs and ahs from the fans.
Well, that last shot that our producer Peter Laster and director Bill Webb showed us of the 4-pin tripping out was very important there. The same type of action was achieved on the 4-pin there and avoided the 4-6 split. A good break by Bowker, who with a spare here, a good count in the 10th, can garner his first title.
Very good. And Bill Webb's tremendously talented ABC cameraman showing you these shots. And Bill Cecil Webb leaves us this week to do boxing next week here on ABC. All right, you see that strike in the 9th for Granger.
That strike, Chris, as you alluded to, is really his only chance. He has to do what is so difficult. Look at that look by Roger Bowker. He wasn't looking at the scoreboard, I don't think. He was just looking for some divine help. He needs a 15-pin fill here in the 10th to lock up the title.
A 4.
Well, 8th frame, left the same pin, missed it. Right now, if he converts this spare and gets a 6-pin count, he will be the Don Carter New Orleans champion and take a trip to the Firestone. If he does anything less, he gives Purvis Granger a chance to win the championship.
Taking a quick sniff of the air in here. Looking carefully at the monitors above, showing him the situation. He'll be in the 220s. Imagine that. First time on our national telecast again.
Good job. Benoit was a tournament winner last week as the leader. Right now, Roger needs 6 pins or better, and he's the champion. That's it. That's a winner.
He got 8. Roger Bowker, now from Ocala, Florida, on his first telecast has won his first championship and $38,000. We'll be back. The Professional Bowlers Tour is brought to you by Alka-Seltzer.
Second week in a row, a non-winner has copped the top prize, has become a champion for the first time. In this case, 34-year-old Roger Bowker. John McGee, general manager here, along with our host, Don Carter, presenting the $38,000 and a magnificent trophy to a first-time winner. Coming up next, ABC's Wide World of Sports.
presents the World Gymnastics Championships, plus a live interview preview of Super Bowl 22 and the Athlete of the Week Award. And tomorrow, ABC Sports starts your Super Sunday with college basketball action featuring Kentucky against Notre Dame. Then, the Super Bowl